Okay, we are ready to start with Unit 1, and we're going to talk about the concept that's being presented in Unit 1 so that you can teach the students. So we are just going to jump right in, and I'm displaying the Reading Refined curriculum for online teaching here. And as you can see, the green slides are slides for you. I'm using a Zoom share feature right now, but you wouldn't be sharing this slide for your student. You would be reading these ahead of time or pausing your share in order to read them. So what we're doing here in Unit 1 is we're going to be just exploring a little bit about closed syllables and the difference between vowels and consonants. So let's start out with the difference between vowels and consonants. On the next slide, we're going to be able to explain that letters have names and sounds. So letter A, that's the name, and the sound is ah. We do start with the short vowel sounds, and sometimes your student will say, oh, well, A says A too. Absolutely acknowledge that. That's true, but then we'll say the more common sound for A to make is the short sound, ah, so we're going to start with that. Okay, we're going to have them identify the names of the letters. You can test their letter sound knowledge on the following slide as well. And then we're going to talk about what a vowel is and how that's different from a consonant. So this is the slide that you'll then display to your students as you work through this. And so one way to explain the difference between vowels and consonants is to have them focus on their mouth shape and what's happening in their throats when they say those sounds. So I'll now display our vowel letter slides. Your kids might say, well, what about Y? Definitely you can acknowledge that. Of course, yes, Y can also make a vowel sound as well, but we're going to just stick with these vowel letters that only make vowel sounds. And so what you want to do here is you want to have your students practice making the short vowel sounds of all of these letters here. And what you're calling attention to for this is that your mouth drops open when you make these vowel sounds. And when you make them, try to exaggerate your mouth drop a little bit to really emphasize this. And we're also going to be noticing how the sound exits our mouths. So is it blocked? Is it loud and clear? Is it something that you can say loudly? The answer to the last questions are it is not blocked and it is something you can say loudly, because that's what distinguishes a vowel sound from a consonant sound. The other thing that will happen when you make a vowel sound is that your vocal cords will vibrate. So here are the physical pieces that you're going to have your students do for the multisensory experience. They're going to say the vowel sounds, putting two fingers under their chin like this, and as they say the sounds, ah, eh, and so on, tell them to notice their chin drops based on the fingers drops. They can see it happening because they can see themselves in their screens. They can see it happening for you, and they can feel it as their fingers drop up and down. Then have them put two fingers on their throat as such, and have them again say the sounds and tell them to notice the vibrations. Okay, so this is contrasted with some of the consonant sounds. Go through some of the consonant sounds. Good ones to pick are the letters T and S and F, because what you're calling attention to here are a couple of things. Do your vocal cords vibrate? Now, for some consonants, they do. Some of them are partially voiced, like right? Or we have unvoiced consonants like S, where there's no vibration here. So I like to have the students do some of the unvoiced consonant sounds like T and S, because that eliminates the vibration of the vocal cord and it really draws a contrast between the two, the letter types. So the other thing you're going to do is, again, having them put their fingers under their chin and say S and T and F. No drop, right? Also call attention to the position of your lips, your tongue, your teeth as you're making these sounds. Those position changes are blocking the sound from coming out. Not completely, because we can still hear the sounds, but you can kind of imagine them as little barriers to the sound being released from your voice, in contrast to ah, which is no barriers, fully vocalized. And you can also tell your students that they can yell a vowel sound, but they can't yell a consonant sound. So you can even have them try it if you want to risk it, but that's another way to explain the difference. Now here's where it gets interesting. You're going to explain to your students, you've just given them all this information, but what is that for? Who cares that the vowel sounds are different from the consonant sounds? The reason this is important, and this is what you're going to explain to your students, is because the vowel sounds create the drops in our mouth, which allows us to say a word, and it allows syllables to exist. Syllables are always containing one and only one vowel sound, and we can feel and hear the syllables in the word because we are feeling the mouth drops for vowel sounds. So that is a way that you're later going to be explaining syllables. So here's what you can do. Display this slide with a variety of words, and you're going to go through here and have them experiment with sounding out if they're able to do that. And again, have them have their two fingers under their chin, and so that they can see when their mouths drop, and then have them say the word directly and see that they still feel a quick mouth drop, because these are words. This is where you explain that a word can only be a word if it has a vowel. So that's when you would display this, and this would be the discussion here as to none of these are real words, and you would say that to them, but could it be a word? Is it possible that it could be a word? The ones that have vowel letters, it is possible that those could be a word, but the ones that don't, that can never be a word because it does not have a vowel letter. Okay, so the next piece of this is going to be displaying a blank board here because we're going to talk about the closed syllable. All right, what a closed syllable is, let me change my color here. A closed syllable must contain one and only one vowel letter, and it must be followed by one or more consonant letters. This is a closed syllable. One vowel, one or more consonant letters. This is a closed syllable. One vowel, one consonant letter. Remind your students that it doesn't matter what comes before the vowel, because a lot of times children will confuse the concept of the CVC word, consonant, vowel, consonant, with the concept of the closed syllable. So I like to use words as my examples that don't have something in front of them, but you can do a variety of things to explain. Now this is not a closed syllable because it has two vowels, so it's been excluded. This is not a closed syllable because it has one vowel, but there's nothing after the vowel, and the letter can just fall off the cliff and say its name as it goes down. But so we're just going to focus on, we're not really going to explain the other syllable types. We're just going to give a couple of examples of what is not a closed syllable, but then bring the focus right back to what is a closed syllable. And the words that are going to be studied this week are all going to be closed syllables. They are all CVC words because this is where we're going to be starting out, and they are common words, and there's a lot of them that follow the SATPIN, SATPIN method, where those are very common letters that get studied first. And so these will be the words for the week, and then you will go through the lessons step by step as you see here, and then you will be all set. All right, on to the next lesson.